Hey, good afternoon and welcome to Freight Forecasting. I'm Michael Vincent, your host, and this is Zach, the Sultan of SONAR Strickland.
Yes, hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm well.
Lots of stuff going on today. Yeah. So, different setup today, kind of cool, right?
Yeah, social distancing.
Yes, absolutely. We do our chicken wing dance a little bit, right? We were practicing that before the show, but what do we want to get into, or what I'd like to get into today with you is, everybody, the rise of outbound tenders, the volumes going through the roof with the panic buying, the preparedness buying, and so on and so forth. Warehouses draining, that type of stuff. Now it seems to have leveled off and is going down in different markets. And so I've got this chart already built up because it would a little bit too much to just kind of show in one show how to build this. So just to kind of go through this, if we could show this to everybody here a little bit closer, perfect. So if we have on the left-hand side, I've got the outbound tender volume index for the United States. And then van and reefer. So, what's your breakdown on this?
Yeah, so there's other modes in here other than just van and reefer. So that's why they don't add up and exactly to the same number. But most of the volume in this index is dry van driven. So roughly any time, but 70 to 75% any given moment. Reefer's about 15-20% any given moment, depending on the seasonality of things. There's fluctuations there, et cetera.
In the blue, which is total.
Yes,
you would have flatbed in there as well.
You've got flatbed, you've got some tank, you've got some intermodal, you've got some high side container stuff. Very minimal amount of that kind of thing, but there is a mix of freight here.
So then the question comes, and I've been putting stuff out on LinkedIn, and so have other people, and some Sonar clients are starting to put things out, to talk about what's going on LinkedIn and using Sonar charts and so on. And so they're looking at this in particular, is what we're seeing, and this peak that you see at the top here. And let me grab these crosshairs here, which was on the 23rd. Right? And it's starting to drop. And then the question becomes, okay, do you have this by length of haul? And so I do have that by length of haul, but I'd like to kind of dig in is why is it important to understand what is happening by length of haul?
Yeah, so length of haul, of course, we've got it broken down by long, tweener, mid-haul, short haul, and local haul. So there's 5 length of hauls here. And they're broken down by 0 to 99 miles, 100 to 250 miles, 251 to 450 miles, 451 to 800 miles, 800 miles plus go the breakdown. So the importance of each one of these is that this is different types of freight movement. The local and short haul freight is the 0 to 250 mile segment. You can actually do a day trip and come all the way back in that 250 miles.
One day turn. You're home. Drivers are home every night.
Yep. Yeah. And then anything moving in that 250 to 450 mile, you're going to spend about a day on that freight, making that move. Then, of course, the 450 mile plus stuff is going to be your multi-day stuff, more than likely. You cannot come back. And so that's going to have a much more detrimental impact to capacity from the origin markets. Right. Those longer haul moves definitely have a bigger impact to capacity in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we could bring this a little closer for the folks viewing here to kind of look at this. So what I've got on the right-hand side here is the Blue Mountain is actually the shortest. It's the local. It's the local.
Yep, that's
which
the 0
we
to 99
actually call
miles.
city, but it's the local. That's the 0 to 99. And you can see, and I'll bring up the crosshairs here so we can pick out specific dates. So you're looking at this. So the peak was 2182 on the 22nd.
Right.
And now it started to drop. Mm-hmm. And like you said, then you have the short, which peaked at 2534 and has also started to drop the next day. So the local dropped first.
Yep.
By a day.
I mean, if you think about this is a very logical progression. If you think about what has been going on in the United States freight market over the last year to year and a half, we had a ton of volume coming into the country through the ports, trade war issue, filling up warehouses. We were actually at peak inventory levels the early part of this year. So we couldn't have been more set up to have as much inventory as possible. Maybe not the right inventory, mind you, but certainly a lot of inventory in these warehouses. And the way that we have started to see supply chains evolve and adapt to the new e-commerce demand-driven society that we live in now, where you get everything in a day or two, warehouses have been positioned a lot closer to the populations.
Right.
So what that means is there's going to be DCs positioned closer to the retail stores, maybe even some mini distribution centers sitting out there. That's that short haul local freight that we saw surging here in the first part as retail stores were emptied of their volume, especially on the consumer goods.
And you can see this in this chart. When you go back to the end of, what was the month before March? February. So if you
I don't remember February anymore.
Yeah, well, yeah, 2020 is not going to go down. Anyways, so you see it kind of flat, all.
Yep.
And you see their relative market share.
We had almost no change in volumes in February.
Right. It was
straight up
just
flat.
Boring,
Yeah.
ho-hum, and now we wish it was boring.
We
right?
miss that.
I like the volatility. I like to talk about things interesting, but the reason why we're talking about it is not my favorite. So, but then you start to see the effects.
Yep.
And the difference here is this, like you said, the short or local skyrocketed
First.
Mm-hmm. And then you started to see the short, right?
Yep.
And then you started to see the mid,
Took
and
off.
then the tweener,
And your tweener.
and then your long.
Finally, your long haul
Really
kicks in.
was delayed by. Man, well,
like weeks.
4 or 5 days, something like
Yeah.
that. Well, actually, I mean, if you count
you could
this
argue
bump
2
here,
weeks.
but you can argue that it came out all the way to the 15th.
Yeah.
Before it really started bumping up, and so what?
So the reason for that is because again, a lot of the freight enters in the ports.
Yeah.
Or outside of the country. We don't make a lot of stuff here anymore. I mean, we make toilet paper, but we
Apparently not enough.
We don't make a lot of the plastic, the durable goods, a lot of these consumer products. Even though we may make a portion of them, some of the packaging comes in from overseas, et cetera. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Even if it's not made overseas, the packaging, et cetera, is.
Yeah, so they'll run out of all this stuff. Then they have to import it all into the country, which it's positioned, Los Angeles, Long Beach, the largest entry point in the United States for imported goods. That's a lot of long haul freight that has to drive all the way across the country. It'll hop on rail. And of course, right now, it can't go on rail as effectively because they need these goods now. So that means that the long haul demand is going to increase as this freight has to come across the country with a quickness out of these port entry zones.
Yeah, and so that's what happened early on. But
Yep.
would that explain why we're seeing this now? The peak has occurred.
Yeah. So the short haul volumes are dying.
They're dying, and so now
They're replenishing.
They're replenishing. The long haul is picking up.
Yep.
Because that's what's moving, is to try and replenish those things. Now there's also talk, and I've read, I think you read the same article about just in time, and now we're ruining the day we discovered that, which I think is a little bit.
I think this isn't a new thing.
It's not a new thing, but so. Are they bypassing? Is this all replenishing stock, or is there something to bypassing those right now?
You and I both know that anytime we enter an environment like this, they start bypassing hubs.
Yeah.
They start bypassing distribution centers, going straight to store. They'll make makeshift landing zones for bulk goods, bulk items. The way that this works is it's again not news. But yeah, it's certainly going to increase your, if you need some freight coming from Los Angeles to New York, they're going to try to get it as close to the end position as possible.
Yeah, you don't want to transfer until you have to.
No, it's a waste of time.
Yeah, it's kind of like LTL.
Yeah.
Our favorite question when I was starting in the 80s.
Way back
What's
when.
the best dock production on a cross dock?
Yeah.
Zero.
None.
Zero is the answer there.
Yeah.
Right? Pick it all. Yeah.
None.
Exactly. So, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So this are we expecting this long haul to keep going? I mean, we could pull up another chart and start looking at the maritime.
Yes.
Right. But it's confused.
So
I have it here, and I'll pull it up, and you can see. And the reason I was going to say it's a little confusing is because I have so much stuff on this chart. Let me move some of this around so it makes a little bit more sense. I wasn't prepared to put it up here. It's again quite involved.
Busy, but the story remains the same. I mean, you've got
it does. So you're looking here, right? All these ports coming back online.
This is a good sign for anybody in the United States that's running low on inventory. It's a good sign for truckers out there, carriers out there that are trying to figure out, will I have some freight to move here in the near future? The answer looks to be yes, you will. Again, a lot of this freight coming out of these countries, these are now export shipments coming to the United States that are clearing the U.S. by port. So the port of Shanghai, 33.5% up week over week.
Yeah, that's right.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yanshan, not so much. Singapore, however, is up and doing well. Lots of volume in some of the bigger ports of the world that import into the United States. So this means that
and just to that point really quickly, is just so people know what they're looking at here. If we get this on the screen for them, the upper left is
Yes.
means it's the larger of the value of imports.
Yes.
There's more imports down to the smaller of the ports on the right. It's
You got
not
your
it's not
absolute
the
value.
change.
Yeah.
The color here and the percent is the change. So you've got negative in the red and positives in the green. The darker greens or brighter greens are bigger, are more dramatic increases than these kind of like darker greens and then so on down to where you're almost at zero, where you're looking at gray and black, right?
Yeah, and you have your absolute value sitting down there in the small number underneath the percentage changes.
Right. Sorry for that interruption. But you see this change, so this is a good move that these things are coming in there, right?
Yeah. No, it's good news. That means that they're going to have at least some sort of replenishment coming into the country. Again, it's going to feed that long haul volume that has not fallen off. It's had this lag to it. So a lot of these warehouses that are sitting across the country near the end user, near the end store, they're running out of inventory, which is probably why you see a lot of these things drop. Regardless, there's probably still an impact of the consumer now has enough toilet paper to last them for the next 3 pandemics. So
let's hope there isn't.
They're purchasing activities are probably going to change eventually, I would assume, although I still walk into the grocery store and don't have flour.
Right.
So
and so we're seeing that kind of right in this area right here. If I can expand this right here, we're starting to see this growth.
Yeah, you have the
in this area right here, the import shipments
this is counting
into the
all
United
those
States.
shipments. Yeah.
So it's all shipments. Both those charts were shipments, right? They weren't TEUs.
Right.
They were shipments.
That's a big clarification.
It's a big difference, right? Right. And so we're seeing that. So if we're looking at that, we go back to the original chart, right? So we're seeing that there's strong evidence. Obviously, ports are coming back online, and exports are coming, or imports are coming into the United States. Exports from there, imports into here. So would that, if we come back to this chart here and look at the long haul and the short haul, et cetera, would we expect there, as those hit this long haul, to stay up there, and as they replenish, there be a rebound effect possibly in these shorter hauls?
I think eventually, yes. There should be some sort of, this will not be, I think we will see a pretty steady, quick decline overall, but you're going to see these little undulations in there. You should see this. Like I think here in the next, it's probably going to take a while for it to have a real impact, because you saw those volumes are still not up to where they were before on the custom side.
They're still way down. They're great numbers, 38% up, but so if we charted those out,
there'd be nothing. So it's probably going to take a good month and a half for the volumes to go all the way back down to where they were, and then you're going to see these little undulations in there. So over the next several months, we're going to start to see these things kind of wave up and wave down, but at the same time, you're going to see different types of freight movements in those undulations. So this long haul, it's probably going to take just as long for it to start to go down as it did to come up.
So I got you. So it'll be less of a dramatic move as these shorter hauls would. But it should.
It's going to come down.
So you're telling me there'll be volatility?
Yeah, there's going to be some volatility. Looking at this, it looks like you can pretty much see that we're probably in this. We're close to seeing some of these long haul volumes if you follow the patterns of the tweener and the way that it's kind of trickled into these longer haul freight volumes. We should start to see that kind of drop off, or at least flatten here the next few days, if not a week.
The long haul.
Yeah, the long haul.
We should see that.
Yeah.
And as that trends, we should see the undulation start to happen as things possibly restock.
Yeah, and the problem with this is, it's not just the demand side that you're worried about here. The reason that you want to look at this is the fact that capacity is so uneven right now. It's so broken because you have all these carriers that now have surging freight volumes. It's not an even flow like we had in February. You're going to have long-haul freight that's going to clear out Los Angeles, and it's going to feed New York or Chicago or something like that. And then all of a sudden, you're going to have these little local moves and little short-haul moves in there. It's going to keep the trucks right in those areas.
Right.
You're not going to have a lot of freight moving the other direction. So you're going to have a lot of imbalance in the United States freight market moving forward.
And so you're talking about truckload.
Yeah.
Right, and we're going to get to that in a second, kind of how we, the second part of the show today, kind of talk about how you look and find those other markets to reposition your assets, where you need to be looking.
Exactly.
If you're a shipper, where are you going to have these opportunities or hurdles to find capacity? What is going up and down? But to that point, the fragmented markets, you've got capacity winding up in all these bizarre places that you're not used to, right? Mm-hmm. There's reading a lot of things about in maritime, which is a difficult thing about, or a hard thing to plan for the logistics of the maritime movement, is where are the containers?
Yeah. Yeah, no, they have to figure out how to balance that out, again, because most of it goes one direction.
It does, and then it's moving into these strange places, et cetera. And I was reading one article that was talking about, they try and keep track of where all these containers are, and there's evidence that they just kind of thrown that out the window because they
can't keep up.
They can't keep up with where they are, and they're moving ships full of empty containers to try and get them to the Chinese ports, which are producing, and that's part of the lag in what's going on now as well, is that fragmented where are the containers to get to these ports that are online to move the goods, which is stalling manufacturing as well.
Right.
So it just, and then that delays it getting to the U.S., which delays the rail, which delays the truckload.
You'll get these surging volumes, then retracting volumes, then surging rejections, retracting rejections. It's like I made the analogy the other day about the pendulum, those little desk pendulums that you have.
Yeah.
The further the back you pull on it, the longer it takes for that thing to get settled back in.
Well, the bigger the waves.
We just yanked that pendulum all the way.
Well, imagine it's already, and you have a dial, and you could go from 1 to 10.
Yeah.
We went from 1 to 11.
Probably about 50.
If you get the reference.
Yeah.
This one went to 11. Interesting.
But you have the rejection index
we wanted
here.
to talk. Yeah, we did absolutely, and I can move this over to get all of those on there. There you go.
Speaking of
we have them all there.
Speaking of the gauges, so the gauges, of course, this is representing over the last 52 weeks high-low. So the 52-week high is at the very tip over on the right side of the gauge, and the 52-week low is down on the very left side of the gauge. So you can see we're turned all the way up.
It's at 11, baby.
Yeah, we're at 11.
Yeah.
So that's an appropriate analogy for all the rejection rates, and they're all increasing, indicated by the green. So the volumes.
Yeah, none of them are coming down.
Yeah, the volumes have not translated to a capacity. It's settling, if you will.
Yeah, so they've dropped off and they're coming down, but they're still so elevated.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the total, came all the way down to 12,592. Still higher than the peak of 2018 in June.
Right.
Right? Or July in 2018.
Just
still higher than that.
Start to come back down.
Yeah, they're just starting.
It took several months for 2018 to settle down off the peak.
Yeah.
Like, it was not a quick thing. So we expect rejection rates to not settle down anytime soon.
And the disparate markets and where the long haul is going to replenish these goods, to restock, et cetera, the disruption in maritime and where are those containers and getting them there, and different countries on different timelines, et cetera, you're going to see rejections or the supply of capacity in specific markets just going volatile all over the place.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this was kind of simple to forecast a little bit because everything skyrocketed at the same time.
Right.
Right? You're looking at a market table, which I'm going to pull up right now. So let's just pull that up right now.
Yeah,
so you're looking at the markets, and it was kind of easy to see things because it just exploded everywhere.
Yep.
Right? Now it's not exploding everywhere.
No, we're starting to see a lot of unevenness in the market. You know, we've got some markets that are showing some increases as indicated by your market watch table that you have here. You know, we have head haul, I-try, ITVI, O-try, OTVI on this guy, and you can see that there's a mix of red and green if you look down that OTVI column.
Right. Right here on the end.
Yep.
The OTVI. So that's the outbound tender volumes for that market. And this is the day-over-day change.
Yes.
Is what I have on here.
And you can change that if you wanted to.
Yeah, we could change that if we wanted to, absolutely. But the point is this, what you're saying, this O-try, OTVI was just dead green.
Yeah, just a week ago.
Just a week ago.
Yep.
And now it's not. And we're going to see these colors change. OTVI is going to drop. It's red now day over day in Atlanta, and it's going to fluctuate up, and that's going to make the tender rejections go up and down. And you've really got to be looking for some trends and doing some strong forecasting to figure out what is going on.
Yeah, because you're going to see these day over day declines, but then you're going to have these intermittent little pockets of like surges as they get freight into these markets. So you're really going to have to pay close attention. And the way that I like to do this is exactly kind of how you have it laid out now. I think you have it sorted by the largest markets in the United States.
Yes.
Pulled up there because those are going to be the ones that have all the volume, all the volatility. They're going to demand the most capacity.
What you can do right here on any one of these, if you click on this arrow, you can change it by value, percent change, or market share. And I've got it on descending from largest market to smallest market. So yeah, these are the Atlanta, what's MDT, Harrisburg, the Inland Empire, Ontario, Dallas, that's Allentown, Joliet, Houston, Columbus, EWR, New Jersey, etc. Right? Going down the line. So kind of crazy stuff that's going on there. So, and then next to it is the most volatile market. So what's the difference between these two?
Okay.
I mean, they're showing volatility and rejections, and so is the other one. So why is one different?
So the one you have on the left there, the market watch table, that's going to be focused on the absolute value. That's basically telling you what is the day over day change. It's giving you the red and green signals based on whatever time period you're trying to measure the change in. It's giving you the day over day percentage change, the absolute value, etc. But you don't know if that is a significant jump, a significant decline, historically speaking, statistically speaking. That's why we created the volatile markets widget here. And that's why
on the right-hand side.
Yeah, on the right-hand side. So all of these different, categories, outbound volume, outbound rejection, head haul, tender lead time, all of those are going to be color-coded, and they're going to tell you when you're seeing a statistically significant week-over-week change in that market. And they're basically broken down by strong, moderate, not significant. So right now you're looking at a strong increase in outbound rejection volatility week over week in Atlanta, whereas you're not so much in the Columbus market. So basically that 1.09% change week over week in Columbus, we've seen it before. It happens roughly 67 to 70% of the time. It's within that single standard deviation, on the normal curve for the stats nerds out there. Basically anything has to move greater than a single standard deviation to get one of these green or red boxes.
Yeah. A good example, you've got Joliet head haul, bright green here. When you look at its normalcy, it's not even a moderate increase.
It happens.
It happens there all the time.
A lot.
Right. So this is, and the way I like to look at this is, this tells me, like you said, on the right-hand side, you've got the most volatile market. This is telling me where there are strong things outside the norm that are going on. Right.
Yeah, these are signals.
They're definitely signals. That doesn't mean if they're not here that this market table isn't important to you. If you're in this market, there can be changes in here that can dramatically affect you that don't fall into the most volatile range.
Correct.
Right?
And February, a perfect example of this. In February, you're out there, you're trying to identify freight patterns, seeing what's going on. It was a pretty flat market, not a lot going on. This was relatively gray on this side of the table here, but you still had a lot of reds and greens going on here, and which is important because a lot of the time we do have normal conditions, and you want to identify, you know, I have a lot of big shippers out of Atlanta, I have a lot of outbound out of Atlanta. I need to know what's going on in that city in relation to the rest of my network. You know, if you're a carrier, you're obviously concerned about your network balance. If you're a broker, you're literally just looking for anywhere that you're seeing a sign of any kind of volatility.
Right. And the way I like to explain this is, or look at this. So we're looking at right here, if we pull this up, you have CMH here, right? Third from the bottom is CMH. That's Columbus, Ohio.
Right.
Right? Has no reason, I mean, my mug isn't why I'm doing this, but if you look at this, when you look at this, you've got a head haul that has gone up 53.2%.
Yep.
Right? And that is a moderate increase according to the chart on the right-hand side.
And head haul, of course, is the difference between outbound and inbound volumes.
So 53%, 53.2% day over day change or increase in head haul means that outbound has significantly increased over inbound.
Which means that cup of capacity in the Columbus market has a higher chance of running out of trucks.
It does, but it could be that inbound volume is flat and outbound volume has gone up, or both are going up, but outbound has increased at a faster pace.
Correct.
Right? So in this market tells you what's going on in this market table. So if you look to the next one, the I-try, which is inbound tender rejects, or the refusal of loads into that market, that has also increased. So head haul, there's more outbound than inbound, and more carriers are refusing loads into that market, putting further constraint on the capacity, right?
Right.
And then next to it, you've got inbound tender volumes. What's going on here?
And it's going down, 3.4%.
What does that tell you, Zach?
So your inbound volumes are coming down. That means you're not going to have as many trucks in the market as you would previously.
Yeah, and you've got 3.4% increase in outbound volumes.
A proportionate increase on the outbound volumes. So you're having a double whammy here. More trucks leaving, less trucks coming in.
And more people refusing to come in with those as well. I mean, that's the number of loads being tendered in has decreased, and the number of carriers accepting that reduced number is increasing, meaning there's less and less capacity coming into that market.
So there's a big signal here that this market is at risk for running out.
It's at risk. It really is. Now, the interesting thing about this and why I point this out is because if you just think of this market, you would say, okay, outbound tender rejects are going to have to go up. Spot market rates are going to be under pressure to move up, right? If I'm a shipper, I'm in danger of falling out of my routing guide. I need to start calling my contracted carriers, right? And making sure you're still going to cover me next week, right, brother?
Yeah.
Right?
We're still friends, right?
I'm not going to see your truck come in by a broker, am I? Yeah. Right? That type of stuff. So, but it's not.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. There's your early warning sign, right? This is a day over day. You're going to want to chart this, look at it, and figure out what's going on. And we were discussing this earlier too. Columbus market. I love watching that whole region, really from Pittsburgh over to Rock Island, and right along the interstates right there. I love to watch it.
I-70,
you got 80, 90, 70, all that right there. And then the north and south, really, because you got Cincinnati and up into Detroit and et cetera, and Milwaukee and so on. But they interplay so much.
Yeah.
None of them are insulated markets.
Nope.
Right?
Yeah, one will supply the other. It's easy to drive from Cleveland to Columbus relatively. Pittsburgh, same part of that kind of triangle over there.
Yeah, and boom, you're in Chicago.
Yep.
I mean, it's nothing to deadhead between those. So those markets interplay. You got to watch. It could be that inbound's coming into Cleveland market or the Pittsburgh market, and their outbound's dying, and therefore it's just going into Columbus and handling this surge in outbound volume.
But if you're a carrier, you need to price that into your equation.
You absolutely do.
Because now your deadhead percentage chances have gone up significantly. So you definitely need to know where which is it in Cleveland? Is it in? So you got another 70, 100 miles of deadhead percentage potential. Of course, right now everybody's going haywire with volumes, so they're. Yeah. So the point with these two are excellent charts for forecasting and finding out what's going on, right? And the most volatile markets is absolutely going to give you that really strong indicator.
But we found an incredibly interesting market to watch, Columbus right now, that has the potential for rates to just skyrocket and outbound tender rejects to go way up. Yet over here on the most volatile, it's a moderate increase in volume and a moderate increase in head haul.
Yeah, and it's not even registering on the rejection.
Not even registering yet.
Yep.
So I mean, so you get these early warning signs that you can stay ahead of the game is the point, right?
Yep, because this is what already has happened over here. Like when you see these things go green and red, you've already met you're out. I mean, not that there's not value in knowing that. You're obviously getting a really near-time signal here.
Absolutely is.
Yeah.
And these are kind of switched. I just like them because the different sides, the way I have this, you may want to have the most volatile as your first thing you look at, because you're gonna walk in, you're looking at this and go, boom, we're in trouble right now in this one, and then dig into the market table to find out, okay, what's coming up, what do I need to keep an eye on?
Right.
Excellent. Hey, Zach, as always, give me a chicken wing, bro. There we go. Hey, thanks for watching Freight Forecasting. Thursdays, 4 o'clock on FreightWaves TV. I'm Michael Vincent. Zach Strickland, the Sultan of SONAR. You'll catch him on, he's on a lot of shows. He's a smart guy.
Yeah. Freightonomics at 2 o'clock on Wednesdays. Catch our posts. The podcast is up on the website. So check it out. Excellent.
And then we got What the Truck up tomorrow at 1 o'clock on Friday, which is going to be...
Gonna wrap up this crazy week. Another crazy week.
Absolutely crazy week. So, hey, take care. Until next time, peace and love.
Wash your hands.